So we're going to jump back into Jarnail Singh's testament to the Post Office Horizon IT inquiry, and following on from Calendargate, Jason Beard discusses with Jarnail Singh essentially a fatal flaw in the prosecution case, which he's been made aware of at least 6 months before, about the absence of data, and now Gareth Jenkins at Fujitsu is saying, it's not possible for me to answer the key question with any kind of clarity about whether Horizon has any issues because, for example, we know there are some existing issues, like a lock-in issue that he brings up. However, it's impossible to say whether it's happened in this case because that data would be in the events log. And at the moment, you've still not requested any data. He does highlight now that with this being raised on a Friday evening, this is not going to be possibly done by Monday evening for the 4 p.m. deadline for the court case. So what took so long, and why didn't Jarnail Singh get the data sooner? And the critical questions asked, even if they couldn't obtain the data due to time constraints, was the court ever made aware of this through a disclosure log? Let's find out as we jump into the inquiry.
Anyway, let's go back to the 5th of February 2010 then, 6 months on. FUJ 0015 2930. Email at 5:10 on the Friday. Jarnail, this is an email. So David Jones to you. Jarnail, this is an email I received earlier from Gareth. You'll see that he's clear that in order to answer counsel's questions about any issues, he needs to be able to check the underlying transaction logs to be able to say whether there were any issues. On the specific issues you raise, Gareth's view is, and then number 3, remember what number 3 is about, Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Whether there are any known issues or problems with the Horizon system of which Fujitsu is aware. And he says, that's Mr. Jenkins, is not currently in a position to make a clear statement. It's possible for there to be problems where transactions have been lost in particular circumstances due to locking issues. When this happens, then we have events in the underlying eventing logs to indicate there was an issue. Whenever we provide transaction logs to the Post Office Limited, we check for such events. In the case of West Byfleet, we've not been asked to provide any transaction logs and so have not made these checks.
Yes.
I mean, that's a clear identification of an issue there, saying actually this hasn't happened and it needs to happen because there's certainly a potential for there to be issues. So when they're saying they can't make a clear statement, it sounds like we're aware of some problems. As to whether those problems have happened in this specific case, we don't know without the underlying data. All seems to be very rushed now at the last minute based on the court deadline when there's been ample opportunity beforehand to keep on pushing the fact that you actually need the data and the transaction logs, because there doesn't seem to be rafts of emails where he's following this up. It's like I passed it on once, didn't get an answer, so I've left it.
Presumably you regarded that as a huge red flag.
Well, obviously, as I said to you earlier, I explained to you what the situation was. There were problems in the background which I wasn't aware of.
You're being made aware here.
Yeah, by
Fujitsu.
David Jones, yes.
That they cannot say they're not in a position to provide a clear statement as to whether there are problems with Horizon or not.
Yes.
As a prosecutor, does it get any more significant than that?
Well, no. But as I say,
what did you do?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't got the paperwork. I can only go by years on with what you've provided me with. I mean, I can't see what this is sort of, again, is another 5th of February. I mean, there's been lots of information going backwards and forwards trying to deal with it. So I can't answer that as to, well, obviously, it's important, and I think we have emphasised it. And then subsequently, finally, I think we do get them, don't we, in March?
I mean, presumably, at the very least, this kind of communication is something that you would want to ensure goes on a disclosure schedule. Just at the very least.
Is it not on the final disclosures? Not the one on...
So far as we can see, this information was not disclosed.
September 10.
Correct.
That's the final one. That's not in there. Do you know who actually signed that off?
I can check over lunch.
Okay, please do.
But at the thank you very much. At the very least, you would want to ensure that this would go on a disclosure schedule,
Yes,
wouldn't you?
essential. Yeah, agree.
Did you say essential?
Of course. Well, yes.
The operators of the system are saying they can't make a statement,
Because
a clear statement, that there are no problems with Horizon
yes,
or known issues with Horizon.
obviously there's confusion, there's mistakes, there's errors, all sorts of things going here. But it's a big organisation. How do you control it?
Yeah, but you've got to take some responsibility, haven't you, for your own actions on that? And that's probably the most unequivocal statement we've had from him, saying actually this is crucial that this is on the disclosure schedule. So it'll be interesting to see whether that was the case, because presumably they would have had to produce one for the Monday deadline at court when they're certainly aware of it, because this email's happening on the Friday.
So I wonder whether we could stop there, please, and come back at 10 to 2. We're finishing at 3 p.m. today, and so I think we can do one session after lunch from 10 to 2 until 3 p.m. I informed the call participants who had submitted questions that the progress that I've made isn't as swift as I'd intended for one reason or another, and therefore I would propose that I continue asking questions until 3 p.m, that they defer any questions that they wish to ask of Mr. Singh until when he returns on the next occasion next year. Everyone, I think, has been agreeable to that.
And any questions that you may still have will also be dealt with next year. Is that right, Mr. Yeah?
Yes, exactly. I'm afraid it's taken me longer than I'd hoped.
No, I follow. And could I just have confirmation from all the co-participants that they're content with that?
Yes, there's lots of nodding.
Good. All right. So we'll break off until 10 to 2, and then we'll go till 3 o'clock, or obviously a minute to beyond if you want to complete some particular line of questioning, and then we'll resume in the new year.
Thank you very much, sir.
So that's obviously interesting there. Can't make as swift a progress as possible. Drawing no conclusions, obviously. I guess this has the potential to be one of the most significant parts of his testimony yet. He's described it as essential that this would be put on a disclosure log, that the data that should have been obtained, that he says he's tried to obtain, couldn't be obtained. But does it end up on that disclosure log? Because if it doesn't, then surely that is one of the most fatal flaws undermining this entire prosecution case of Seema Misra, of where we have seen numerous flaws before.